All right, good morning, everybody. Glad to see some people already jumping in the chat. I apologize, a couple minutes late there. I had to go grab some coffee and some water because I drank most of them getting everything set up this morning. And then I got a phone call right when I was trying to get everything, go get that. So I had to take care of that phone call and everything. So hopefully you guys are having a good weekend so far. Some of you obviously are ahead of me, and so you've already gone well into the weekend here on this Saturday morning for me. Good to see you guys. Thanks for jumping in here. Hopefully we'll have some more join us along the way. As always, if you are not subscribed, hit the subscribe button so you can be notified the next time we go live. I'm trying to get better at making announcements, and we do have generally a process, a plan, but it doesn't always work out. So make sure you're subscribed. That way, if you get if I can't get on, usually I'll post something on YouTube, and I try to remember to do it on Discord as well. So if you're not in the Discord server, jump in the Discord server. Link should be in the description of the video here. And then, as always, jump in the chat if you're watching live. Let us know where you're watching from. If this is your first time, say hi and join the conversation. Feel free to share your opinions on the things that we talk about and your experience. As always, when we talk about stuff here on the Dev Mentor Dave, especially any live stream, and any video, really, it's all just my knowledge and my opinion based on my experience. And so jump into the chat and share your experience and your knowledge with us, and we'll help everyone grow together. So if you don't mind, hit the like button so we can tell YouTube that somebody likes us and finds it interesting. And then, of course, certainly feel free to jump in the chat and share. If you are saying something specifically to me in the chat, make sure that you do at DevMentorDave. I think it's at DevMentorDave. And that will kind of highlight it for me and just let me know. I try to follow along as much as I can anyway, but that way it just makes it a little bit easier for me to see if you're specifically trying to get a hold of me for something. So definitely do that if you want to chat. All right, so we'll be doing several things today. One, I want to take a look at the Deep Pockets project. It's been a couple weeks since we've looked at that, and so I wanted to jump into that. We've got several PRs to look at, so we'll review those, and then we'll talk about some plans that I have for 2025, as well as kind of where we're at for the rest of 2024. There will be a couple of Saturdays that I'll be out, so I want to make sure that that everybody's on the same page there. For that, little people are walking in my room, so I'm trying to see what's going on. So anyway, we'll take a look at that later on, and then obviously if you have questions, we'll take time to take a look at your questions. We might cut off a little bit earlier today than the full 2 hours, just because I've got some manual labor that I have to do. We had a tree a couple years ago that had, I think, a microburst, and it literally blew off like the three main trunks of the tree. So it was just this trunk, and it was dead and dying. So we had some tree service people. See, this is why you should always take opportunities. If you see somebody who needs what you have to offer, at least offer it. You never know what they're going to say, right? So tree company came by and they're like, hey, we're doing work in the neighborhood. Notice your tree here is probably going to die. That's not very safe since it's next to your neighbor's house. And so, if you want, we can, cut it down and haul it off for X amount of dollars. And I was like, well, I don't have that much money available or earmarked at all for cutting down a tree. So, yeah, I'm a lumberjack. You know it. You can tell, right? Yeah, these muscles are lumberjack muscles for sure. So I was like, well, what would it cost just to cut it down? Because that's the most dangerous part is cutting the tree down, because you want somebody who's insured to do that, since they can direct it where it goes better than I could. And so they cost me more than I wanted to pay, but a lot less than them hauling it away. So I've got to cut it all up and figure out what to do with it. probably stick it somewhere and burn it at some point. Although I've got a bunch of other wood from the original issue of the tree being burst by that microburst that I still haven't burned. So I'm just not an outside person, so I don't go outside and burn stuff nearly as much as I probably should. Maybe that's what we'll do. We need to start a fire this afternoon, even though it's cold outside. Ugh. All right, so let's jump in here. Just see who all's here this morning. Ian, of course, was like 3 hours early to the live stream. Not really, just half an hour. Welcome, Ian. Welcome, Mel. Good to see you all. I almost said welcome, Dev Mentor Dave, because he's the next one on there. Ming, good to see you, Ming. Welcome, Dimitri. Good to see you. Let's see, is that everybody? I think that's everybody that's in here at the moment. Hopefully, we'll get some more people in, and they say something so we can say hello to them. All right. So let's talk about the Dev Mentor Dave YouTube channel as a whole. I know I've been talking about for a while the LinkedIn lunch. I think that's going pretty well. When I can do it, I apologize I wasn't able to do it on Thursday. I had another work meeting that went long, and I had another one after the live stream, so it just didn't make sense to try to jump on for a few minutes there. So hopefully we'll be back to normal Tuesday and Thursday. I'm trying to remember. I think we've probably only got like 1 week where we've had both Tuesday and Thursday LinkedIn lunch live streams. So hopefully we'll get a little bit better at that. We'll see. It just depends. It just depends on work. You know, unfortunately, that's part of that's the good and the bad, right? It's good that I have a real job and to support my family, but it's also, you know, gets in the way of doing some of the things that I'd like to do. But that's all right. You know, it is what it is. So obviously we have Christmas coming up. So the 2 Saturdays wrapping Christmas. Christmas is on a Wednesday, right? Yeah, I think it's on a Wednesday. So those two Saturdays I will not be live streaming. There's a chance that I will live stream the Tuesday before, but probably not a good one, or the Thursday after. So probably the whole week of Christmas I'm going to be out. And then the 2 Saturdays before and after will be gone. But next week I should be here the 14th. So I will plan on being here Saturday the 14th next week, and then we'll miss the next 2 weeks after that, and then we'll be in January, I think, right? Let me see. Are we in January after that? Yeah, we will be. So that'll be January 4th. It'll be the new year of 2025. So, you know, I'm sorry, Mel, we didn't hit our goal of 5,000 subscribers. Tell you what, here's what we're gonna do. Part of that's on me because I just have, you know, I've not been putting up actual videos and things like that. People don't like watching an hour or 2 hour live streams necessarily, unless they're weird people like you guys. And so what we'll do is we'll transfer that to next year. And so it'll be an easier goal to reach because it'll only be like, you know, less than 2,000 subscribers. But we'll transfer it. I will transfer the 5,000 subscriber goal to next year, 2025. And when we hit 5,000 subscribers, I will do the cake baking. So I'm not going to let myself off the hook just because we didn't get there this year. So there you go. And it's not going to be carrot cake, but we'll do something. I'll do some sort of live stream baking event with cake. So there you go. Welcome, Kelly. Good to see you. We are going to look at PRs, so in just a couple minutes. All right. Let's see. So that's one thing that we're going to transfer over to 2025, and then I've been kind of teasing this a little while, trying to figure out exactly how I want to do it, but I think at some point in 2025, probably in January, hopefully, the plan is to do a weekly live stream on Monday nights. So I'm trying to fill up and get some stuff most of the days of the week and try to do it in such a way that I can be consistent with it. I think I'll be able to block my time out a little bit better next year around the Tuesdays and Thursdays. Obviously, work comes first, but hopefully we'll be able to do that a little bit more consistently in 2025. But I am going to be adding a new live stream, most likely on Monday nights, for probably an hour or two, probably 2 hours, to be honest with you, because I think we'll need that much time. And this is something that we've kind of discussed a little bit over the year and the last year, and just talking about what types of content we can do. So if this doesn't interest you, that's perfectly fine. If it does interest you, great. But it's going to be just kind of a coding and hangout session on Monday nights where you get to come and laugh at how bad of a developer I am and tell me the things that I'm missing, and basically just follow along as I build real products. Now, I have started the process of looking for an actual small project, paid project, hopefully. And also I've been looking at potentially doing a small project for like a 501c3, which is a charitable organization here in the United States. So that could be something that I work on. The big thing is I'll need to work on something that they don't mind me showing what I'm doing. So that can be difficult a lot of times with like a real project, getting somebody to do that. But I also have some of my own ideas of things that I want to build, and they're not necessarily going to be easy things. They're not necessarily going to be obvious things, and they might be things that you have no interest in at all. So if you want to join me for the pleasure of my company and the mockery of my code more than anything. But I will keep you guys up to date as far as when that is going to start and what it's going to look like. But basically, I'm gonna code for probably a couple hours on Monday nights, working on a project. And as we go, I'll kind of explain the things that I'm doing and what I'm thinking when it comes to that project, and why I'm doing the things that I'm doing, and leave it up for you guys to tell me things that maybe I don't know. Maybe there's some new coding practices or standards or options that I'm not aware of, or just help me find the bugs in the code that I'm writing. So the goal of that is to give you guys, again, another glimpse into the real world of development and what that looks like on a day-to-day or week-by-week basis. I know you guys are doing it, so you do know that, but I want you to see that it's the things that you struggle with are things that every developer struggles with. So I want it to not just be an example of a bad developer. I want it to also be an opportunity for you to maybe feel a little bit better about where you're at in the coding process and the development process in your journey as a developer. So that really is kind of the goal of that, and also just to give us a little bit more content and opportunities here on the YouTube channel as well, without hopefully adding too much time to processing and all that stuff. That's the main reason. I know some of you might wonder why I haven't put up videos, even doing the splicing of like the LinkedIn live stream videos. It just takes time, and there isn't always a lot of time, unfortunately, in my schedule week by week. But so doing the live streams is just a lot easier. Plus, I get to interact with you guys, which is really the more fun part of being here on YouTube anyway. So look forward to that if that's something that interests you. And if not, well, too bad. I'll think of something else for you maybe, but let me know. If you have suggestions for things that you want to see, we have suggestion channels in the Dev Mentor Dave Discord server. So if you're not a member, join there, and then go in and leave me suggestions of things that you like, whether that's topics, whether that's live stream ideas, video ideas. Again, I'm not completely opposed to making videos or video series. It just takes time. So it's going to have to be planned out quite a bit. But if you have ideas for content that you want to see, that's the whole purpose of this channel, is to help you guys in your journey. And me just always coming up with my own content doesn't mean it's helpful or useful for you. So if you have questions, things that you think would be good to answer, maybe be answered in more long form, let me know, and we'll dive into it. Let's see. You guys are chatting away. Let's see if there's anything else. It's a bunch of soccer fans. Blech. Let's see. I'm just kidding. My oldest nephew. I think he's well. No, it's not my oldest nephew. One of my older nephews. He's a Tottenham fan. So, but he's here in the United States. So I have to give soccer fans a hard time. All right, let's see. It's American football is the only true good sport. We'll see if I lose any subscribers with that one. All right, let's dive into the project here. Let's see. Over to this. That's good. Okay. So here is where we stand currently. I'm on the um, main branch. Let me pump that up a little bit easier for you guys to see. So I'm on the main branch. I did a pull, I think. Oop. Yeah, I'm already up to date. Okay. So I've got a few things that I built out that are still sitting here from the last time we were doing this. I was showing you kind of how to do the controllers and set up those APIs. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to delete these um, in case anybody else did it. We can always do them again. Let's see. Get rid of this. Bada bing. All right. Let me just check my diff. What? What's going on here? Nothing. Okay, cool. All right, so everything's good there. Let's take a look at some pull requests. Now, let's see. We've got Kelly's got a couple, and then we've got one from Neil, O'Neill, or just Neil. Sorry, I thought it was O'Neill. He's not here to tell me. Okay, so let's take a look at this first one. We'll just go in order 25, 26, 27. So we'll pull this up. Let's see. Files changed. Resource budget controller cost. Okay, so this is the old one. Did I not? Maybe I intended to push the other stuff. Let's go back. Can I get those back? There we go. We got them back. All right, so here's what I want to do. We got rid of the web of the API routes though. So we've got our budget model and we've got our budget controller. Let's do this. Let me look at some of the other PRs here and see what else here. Model relationships created with seeders. Models have been created alongside. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Because I think this is probably what we want. All right, and we got a test. Ooh, nice. Okay, let's take a look. So we want a model, which again we created over here, so we'll probably be able to get rid of that one. So we've got a budget model. Budget line items. This has many. Budget line items class. I don't know why there's a comma here with empty. Did we have? We didn't put that in ours. This if this is not returning an error, I would just say let's remove the comma. Coma. I'm bad spelling. Okay. Start a review. So just this is just something. It may not be throwing an error, but again, this is kind of the little things. Let me make this a little bit bigger here. So this is kind of just little things here and there that you want to clean up, just from a clean code standpoint. Rugby. Actually, rugby is kind of cool. Um, so it might not be throwing an error, but I would definitely remove that comma. Sometimes it will throw an error when you do things like that. So you're good. Let's see. Down here has many budget line items in our budget categories. This is budget line items. So our budget owns budget line items. Use has factory. All right, that's cool. Use has factory protected fillable name. I'm gonna guess. So on our budget, we've got these items that are fillable. I'm gonna guess that you're going to need to add those, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, so we've got a budget. We've got budget categories, has many. We've got budget line items. Again, has factory, belongs to budget and belongs to categories. Okay. So we've got our budget and our budget categories. Budget class, specifying the category ID for the budget category class. Got it. Very good. Excuse me. All right. And then we've got app policies, budget policies. I'll be honest with you, I've never actually used policies. And we're not using users, so I don't think this is going to be necessary. So we can probably just remove this. Budget policy. Yeah, we don't really need this because we're not using users in this application. It's just we're building an application with the concept that you're just going to load it and run your stuff. It's a local application for developers, so I don't think we need the budget policy. And again, everything in there is commented out anyway. So here's what I would say. Unless you're working for a company that wants to have a bunch of abstracted classes or wants to just have you think ahead for things and make plans for things, generally if you're building a file that doesn't actually do anything, don't do it. Just don't waste your time. Now this might have been something that was just created based off of a command. Sometimes that happens, so make sure if you're running console commands to automatically create files that you remove any that you're not going to use. So it's very likely that's what happened. So if you comment everything out in a file like this, just delete the file because it's not necessary. Let's see. This class right here, Ming, this is well, let's just go look it up. Let's go to Laravel.com because it'll explain it better than I can. Documentation. Let's do policies. So it organizes authorization logic around a particular model or resource. So if you basically want to say, should a user have access to do XYZ thing, right? Yeah, that's kind of what I figured, Kelly. It's something when you run some of those commands, those command line commands, duh, then it generates stuff sometimes that even I forget things, especially if you're adding multiple flags, what they're for, or if you're just doing it like with the all flag or something like that. Just go through and it's good practice to go through. Just go through and do like a diff. So do git diff, and it'll list out all of your things that are different. And when you do that, you'll see files. And if you just have a file but there's no changes or everything in it's commented out like that, then just remove the file because it's not necessary. But yeah, so basically what these do is they give you another way of handling authorization for specific actions on a specific model. Um, so example, for in this situation, Laravel will check policies. Um, then it'll check for the app policies. So if you want to have specific policies for a specific model versus your general policies for the application, you can do that. In addition, the policy name must match the model name and have a policy suffix. So a user model would correspond to user policy, etc. So basically, in this instance, you would use that for if you wanted to set up a policy specifically around budgets and what you can do with them. So, for example, if you just look at some of the boilerplate that's in here, so view any, right? So should this user be allowed to view any? So you would put logic in here that determines what type of user or users that have certain aspects or policies that should allow them to do that, right? So you can do that for view any or just view view any models. That's interesting. Create, update, delete, restore, force delete. I think part of what this is a kind of another way of doing kind of roles and permissions, if that makes sense. Now, typically, I would fall back on a package. There are several good packages for roles and permissions out there um, that are just easier to implement, I think, than going through and building policies out. Like I said, I've never used Laravel policies, but there probably is a good use case for them, and I just don't know it, to be honest with you. All right, let's see. Okay, let's keep going here. Okay, so we're down to the factories. Now, if you don't remember what a factory is a way of creating one or more of a items in the database for a specific model. And so what we have here is we have a factory for budget categories, for budgets, and for budget line items. And this is really good, especially for doing tests, and it's really good for doing seeders. So, and we actually have both seeders and tests. Good job, Kelly, in this. And so we're actually gonna run those and see how they work. But as we look here, we've got a budget category factory, and this is using Faker, and it's using the budget category class, and let's see, here's our categories, our acceptable categories, initial ones. Of course, we could you're going to be able to add more later on in the application, but these are some standard ones that we're putting in. And then what I would do actually is I would set, because these are ones that we would want to do I guess, well, I don't know. So I don't know that I would define. I'm trying to decide how I would do this. Because usually in your seeder, let's just take a look at your category seeder. All right, so we've got category seeder. Okay, so you actually removed everything in here. Usually you would call the oh, sorry. Haha. Here we go. All right, so it looks like we removed the seeder call. So I would not remove this. So let's take a look at the documentation real fast around factories. Eloquent factories. Okay, so we've got a factory here. Let's see. Since factory state suspended, factory. Yeah, so generally, excuse me, you would do something like this. A factory really is designed, in my opinion, is designed to be something that you can call to create, right? So what I was expecting in the Cedar was to see something like this, right? So I was expecting to see something like budget category factory count 5 make, right? Something like that. So that's why in here we've got our items, right? But I think we need to do, let's see. You can pass things into the make, things like that. So up here, where is that defined? Factory. Yeah. Oh, let's see. This is throwing me off. Okay. Flight factory. All right. Where's the definition? Was this let's see. Definition array. Return array. Oh, that's line items. Here, hang on. Let me go back up. Okay. Return name, fake, unique, random element categories. Trying to remember final models of false state. Let's just try. Let's do this. Let's pull it down. Ha! It's more fun to actually play with stuff. So let's pull this down. What? Oh, because my budget model. Hang on. Let's rename this. Rename. All right. Make sure we've got the cleanest. Okay. So we've got the updates here. So here's budget line items. All right, let's look at factories. Let's see. Budget categories. So let's see what happens if we go to our budget category Cedar and do something like this. What was it? Count? I think it's count. All right, and then let's check our database Cedar. Okay, you did it in here. I gotcha. I gotcha. I didn't see that before. Okay. Factory count 6, create categories. All right, random ID. Okay, I see what's happening. Sorry, it helps if you sometimes you have to dig into all the code to see what's going on. What I guess that's not necessarily bad. So here's what I would typically do. That's throwing me off. So here's what I would do. I wouldn't want all this inside the inside the database seeder. So usually what we would do inside the database seeder is we would actually call, um, yeah, I get it. I get it. We would actually call the different database. We would call the different seeders separately on their own. That way they're self-contained. Even though, like you're talking about, Kelly, there are some relationships there. Let's go back to the documentation here and just look at seeders. Seeding. All right, so I would do something like this in the database seeder up here. All right, so we would pull in budget categories, seeder. So let's do import that. Go away. Okay. Get rid of that. Especially since we know we're going to run multiple seeders at one time. The other thing to keep in mind is we also seeders are good for testing, but there's also times where you want data locally that you might not want to, like, test data for your local system that you wouldn't want to run in staging or in production. And so you can wrap these calls around environment variable checks, things like that, to see, so you know that it is or isn't going to run in a specific place. So usually what I would do, and what we typically do, is we would call the seeders from here, and then inside the seeder we would take care of anything that needs to happen from a relationship standpoint. So what I would do is inside the seeder I would be calling this guy here. Right, so if we go back to the budget category seeder, we'll plug that back in there, like this. Okay, and so now we've got budget categories. It's got a factory assigned to it, which is helpful. Here, our budget category definition here. Okay, so all this looks good. Sorry, just personal preferences. Okay, so random element categories. I almost would still pass this in, I think, potentially, because I don't know. Maybe, well, you've got unique flag there. Yeah, I don't know. We'll test it. We'll run it and see what happens. All right. So now if I do sale artisan migrate, or not migrate, db seed. Let's see what happens. Seeding the database. Let's take a look at the database. Budget categories. So now we have all 6 of these. They are put in here today, and so that worked really well. All right, so then the question is, well, what do you do? What do you do in the other one, right? Well, you would just query the database in that instance. So if we go in here to the budget line items, so if you see, we've got budget categories, factory. Again, I wouldn't do that way. Is this how you set it up? Let me see here. Models, blah, 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 blah. Budget categories, factory, budget line items, factory. Oh, that's okay. That's in the factory. Okay, and then the actual seeder. So we don't have a budget line item seeder, which is fine because we actually want to do that inside the. That's a good question. Let's go to the budget seeder. All right, so we've got a budget factory. Here's our definition: name, year, month, fake year. Oh, nice. Okay, I would add. Probably what we need to do here is budget factory. Probably need a space there. Would be my guess. I don't know, but I'm just guessing. Month, month. I do, just, again, personal preference. I like spaces between stuff. You don't have to, like, have it, like, some people are really particular about having stuff, like, exactly lined up like this. I'm not that type of person, but I do like at least some space in here just so I can it's easier to read for old guys like me. Um so but it doesn't have to be like tabbed necessarily. I'll just leave it that way. Okay, so we've got our budget factory definition. So then in what we'd want to do typically is have a seeder, a budget seeder. And in here, we would do some of the stuff that you're building out here, right? So let's see, move this stuff over to the budget seeder like this. Bada bing. The other thing that this does by putting this in here is we can make sure that these go in a specific order. So budget seeder. Oop, come on. There we go. Okay. So that way they go in the order that we want them to. So the dependencies work the way that we want them to in the process there. So we know that the budget categories are going to be built out before the budgets themselves, since those will rely on it. All right, so let's take a look at the budget seeder, what we have here. So we're building 5 budgets, and they have budget line items, so that's cool. Line item factory, count 10 for each one. You've got a state here. Sorry. Use categories. All right. So we don't have to do this because, again, we can just call it from here. So like we could do well, let's get some stuff imported. So we should be able to do category ID. Go away. Let's do. Can you do random? I can't remember. Let's see. Budget category. Factory. No, not factory. Is random a method on a model? Hang on. Oh, I'm eloquent. Hang on. Do, 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 do. Doesn't look like it. Let's just do that. Let's ask the great Google. Laravel model random. Dear great Google, how do we do this? All random ID. Okay, we'll try that. Not sure I like doing all, but there you go. Okay. So we've got a budget and line items. We need to include this guy. What? Budget category class not found. Oh, it's budget categories. This should technically be singular, but we'll go with it. Okay. Did not pull it in. Here we go. Import. Okay, go away. That's annoying. Okay. All right, let's try this one and see what happens. So now, let's do this. Let's remove these. Delete. Seriously. You know what? We're just gonna kill it all. Sale, artisan, migrate, fresh, dash dash seed. So this command is going to allow me to remove everything in the database, run all the migrations again. Hopefully they all work, and then we're going to seed based on the seeders in the database. Crash fingers. Dropping all tables, migrating tables. We migrated all these tables, database seeders, categories, budget seeder running done. Okay, let's take a look at the database. All right, so discard. All right, so here's our seeders again. Something to keep in mind if you do something like this is that is going to probably update, since we're doing random. It's probably going to update the IDs. Again, another reason why I might not use a random thing, I might would pass in from the actual seeder, the one that I want to use, and do a for each. Or I think you can do it consecutively inside the create method. But either way, I would probably pass those in. Oh, go away. And instead of just having it do random when it creates the factory, because then you know it'll always come back with these IDs. Not the end of the world, but there you go. All right, so we've got a bunch of line items in here. They all have categories, and we've got budgets. All right, let's take a look at our application. Oh, we're not pulling anything into the application yet. That's not going to do us any good. But we do see that everything is working here. So, so this is the way that I would prefer to do it. This way, you've got, obviously there are some things in here that you have to kind of do together the way that you did it inside the actual database seeder. So that was done fine. But I would do that inside of, as much as you can, inside their own separate seeders, so that you can then just get the information from the database rather than creating it every time you're running the actual seeder. So, or using, so like what you did here in the database seeder, you're using the, like a collection, right? Well, let's say you had more than 6 items that you're putting in, like you're putting in 1,000 different possibilities. Well, now you're storing those 1,000 possibilities in that categories variable in the memory. It's just not as, it's probably not as good a use when you can just query it each time and get it faster. So that would be my opinion there as far as how to do this. Plus, it keeps this database seeder a lot cleaner, because then we can just come in here like this, and this is just it's a very clean database seeder. You can see the things that it's doing. It's calling the category seeder, it's calling the budget seeder, right? So that just makes it a little bit simpler to do all that. Like I said, this seems fine to me, and this is good. Again, I would run this inside here in its own seeder. The factory seemed to be working well, so and again, for me, it's just more about like spacing stuff. The rest of this looks good. Oop, not there. It helps if I push the right buttons. There we go. Sorry, I'm wasting time doing this, but it makes me feel better. So, so this is going to be a little bit more like how we would do it at the company that I work for. Obviously, there's going to be variance from one developer to another. So never feel bad if you wrote something that worked, and I tell you that I would do it differently. Okay, because everybody's going to do things differently. It's just the reality of development. There's lots of different ways to do things sometimes, even within frameworks like this. So certainly don't feel discouraged, but when I do point it out on my project, try to follow what I would prefer. But I do generally have good reasons for it. Okay, so I'm actually going to I'm going to save the notes, but I'm also going to push this up because it is working and it's putting the information in the database. I'm not going to commit the budget API though. So or this guy. All right, so let me see here. Let's see what we're going to push. Actually, let me do this. Let me respond to this because I didn't see anything else in here. Oh, let's run the test. I thought you had a test in here. Don't you have a test in here? Yeah. All right. Example test. All right, let's do, man, it's been a while since I've run it manually here. Let's go to testing and see what it is. PHP artisan test. That makes sense. All right, let's try this. PHP. All right. So we've got a pass. That true is true. Excellent. True is true. Budget has many line items. Application returns successful response. So that one worked. But budget has many line items. Let's take a look here. So, in case anybody's wondering, writing tests is very, very good. Highly recommend it. Unfortunately, a lot of times you don't have the opportunity to write tests, depending on the company that you're working for and the environment that it's in. But let's take a look at our tests here. Feature example test. Okay. Test the application returns successful response. That one passed. Budget has many budget line items. All right, so budget factory 3 create. And this might just be an issue with, so we already have categories here. So we probably don't need to do this. Since we already have categories seeded, we should be good. For each budget, budget line items, factory 2, create, budget ID category. Sorry. It's an addiction. Okay. Budget categories in random order first. Oh, in random order. Huh, I missed that one. All right, first ID. Category ID, budget ID. We're getting that from there. To create. That seems like that should be working. Budgets as budget. Assert count budget line items 2. So another way to do this would be to let's hang on. Let's just look at something here. All right, so budget. Let's just see if that pulls it out. Okay, budget. Get address. What? Budget items. Get address. It's not getting the database. Why isn't it getting the database? That doesn't make any sense. Let's go here. All right, let's see. Budgets. I thought you could dime dump here. Maybe not. Well, that's annoying. Let's go back and see. I'm sure there's a way. It's using PHP unit. Let's check this PHP unit. Do 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 do. Just var dump. Okay, well, we'll try that. Still doesn't work. It doesn't like... Okay, what happened here? So that's working. It's not connecting to our database. Why isn't it connecting to our database? Well, this is interesting. Maybe there's an environment variable I need to set. Let's go look at the documentation. Hey, welcome to Dave Doesn't Know What He's Talking About. Okay, let's see. Introduction, blah, 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 blah. Environment. Automatically uses set configuration environment to testing because environment variables. Also automatically configure session cache array driver. So it should be using why isn't it connecting to our database? Let me take a look here. Do we have a env.examples? We don't have an env.test file. Here's our database connection. Here's our unit php unit.xml file. Anything in here? This might be why. All right. DB database. All right. Let's do. That's commented out for a reason though. It should just use mail post session driver DB driver. Do you have to set DB connection? MySQL. Let's try that. All right, let's try it again here. MySQL failed. Server name not provided. All right, let's do some more looking. So we want PHP XML not connecting to database. Okay, app DB connection. Refresh server name. DB hosting. Yeah, I don't know why we shouldn't have to define this. Laravel should be working as is. And we had it commented out already, right? So these were already commented out. There's nothing else in there. It should be using... Well, I may need to figure this out and test it out later. For some reason, our test is not, it's not seeing the database. And it should be, so like, it should just be using the normal model connection and accessing the database that way. Yeah, you're welcome, Mel. I'm happy to show you how much I don't remember anytime. All right, let's see. I may just have to jump into this at another time because I don't know why. It should. So again, going back to the Laravel documentation, right? So it should just run using the database that you've set up, right? Well, hang on. Let me try. Is there anything weird in configs? database. Default connections MySQL, and that all is set up based on the environment variables. We know that it's working because we ran our seeders, so that's not an issue. Well, let's ask some more questions. Let's see. Laravel test can't find database. I always like to have several options here. Set the database to testing directly for your connection. I don't see. I guess we can try this. Config clearing, but I don't think that's the issue. But we'll see. Sail artisan config clear. Bloop. All right, let's try it again. Yep, same issue. So that's what's going on here. So it says PHP network get address info for MySQL failed. That's the problem. It's not finding the database for some reason. So yeah, I don't know why that is. I don't want to reset the database after each test. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to figure that out. We already did that. Yeah, so we can't test. Were you running the tests locally, Kelly? And were they passing? Let me know if you're still here. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to push up my changes, except for the testing one. So clear. Yeah, they all passed. Huh. There must be something. Maybe there's something with Sail that it doesn't like. That might be a possibility. Actually, let me Sail tests can't find database. Ooh, we're getting closer. Sail test suite feature filter. Blah 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 blah. Connection string test TVP word. I think that might be the issue. Are you running in Sail or are you running in something else? Like Herd or something like that? I probably just need to switch this over to Herd. So I actually have started using Herd for even stuff that I do at work if it's a Laravel application. So I'm kind of a Herd. I'm a Herd nerd now. Okay, let me push up the changes that I made. So git status. Oh my goodness, we made lots of changes. Git diff. All right, so the factory updates we want. On the Cedar updates we want. Not the PHP unit updates. All right, so git. We're gonna add certain things. So we're do git add database, just to show you what that looks like. So now it's added all the database updates. So factories and seeders. That leaves us just with the PHP XML and the tests not committed. which is what I want to do. I don't want to commit these two. I just want to commit these 6 here. So we will do git commit updates to layout of seeders and factories. Whoop. Bada bing. Come on. There we go. And we'll push that up, so that should update these guys here. All right, so we did just the factories. Again, oh, I missed some spacing. So some of the spacing updates here, and then the actual layout of the seeders. So we're just to the call, and then budget and category seeders. So I pushed those changes up. Let's. I'm going to do this. I will do a request changes here. See other comments. Just make those other small changes that we had on here, and then we'll push that in. I'd like to figure out my testing issue though at some point so I can actually run that test. But yeah, okay. So we're really close on that. This, I think, go back, Kelly, and watch the last one that we did, and because I don't want, I want to stick with the API structure like this in the controller, and in the routes. I want the routes to be out based on the controller. So if you go back and look at that and update it based off of the the video that we did last week or a couple weeks ago, then we'll get that one approved and pushed in. Let's look at O'Neill's real quick here. Created basic layout for details page component. So let's see. Blah, 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 budget list page line. Okay. So especially when it comes to things that are visual, a lot of times I will just pull it down and look at it that way because we're building out a whole component here. I mean, theoretically, I can see this and it makes sense, but yeah. So we've got the component. Are we putting the component anywhere? Budget list, budget details page, components details page. So we'd have to actually put it someplace to see it. But let's, excuse me, let's take a look at this. All right. Check out that. Switch to new page. Okay. Just because I always do that. Okay. So let's take a look at these updates. We've got a budget details page, the category component. All right. So this is nice. Not a necessity, but it's nice to kind of tell people, hey, I'm aware we've got other stuff coming and I'm putting a place in here for it. Again, I'm a space dude. So that's helpful. Add category button. All right, so let's see what this looks like. And in order to do that, we're going to need to add oh, here. That's what I was looking for. We're going to need to add this budget details page component. All right, so let's put that in a view. So we'll do inside here, we'll create a new file. We'll call this details or detail.blade.php. Copy this stuff in here. Boop. And inside our content, we will have the what do we call that? It was this, I think. All right, so we've got a new view, but we need some place to load that. So let's go to our budget controller, not the API controller, but the regular web controller, right? And so we've got, oh my, this is all kinds of crazy. Formatting. Okay. So we've got an index, which is our index view, and we've got a show, which this will be our budget.detail. That should, because that's what we named it, right? We named it detail, detail.blade. Okay. So budget.detail, budget, detail. So that's how we're calling that specific view. And we need a route. So we need a route to go to call that show. Where's our routes? Routes. Here we go. Web. Budget controller. We're going to add a new route to the budget controller group. Get. And this will be show. Maybe. All right. And we need to, typically we would pass in a parameter, right? So we'll call this budget ID. So that'll be our parameter value. Now, a lot of times what we would do is we would pull in information, right? So we would pass that information to the view right here. So for example, let's do this. Let's just to show you guys how this works. Let's do show accepts a parameter. So we'll do a budget. We're going to use binding we'll just do budget instead of budget ID. Go back over here. Save that. Okay. So budget, and import this. What? What do you mean it's not found? Oh, haha. We don't have it in here anymore. Let me rename this. Rename. All right. Now we have a budget model. All the fun things. Okay. It's not auto. It's annoying. All right. So we're going to include that or use that. And what we could do here is, I think it's like this, budget, like that. I think that's the right way to do it. And then in our view, we can come back over here. We should be able to do something like, that. Let's just see what happens. Okay. So what are our budget values here? 1 through 5. Okay. Let's see if anything dies here. Localhost. What was our route here? I think it's just slash ID, right? Yeah, okay. So let's go with 1. All right. There we go. Hopefully that all made sense. So what we did is we added a new route to be able to handle the budget ID. And we bound that to the actual budget model. So this is the information about that budget ID. Just for fun. See, now I'm in coding mode, so you're going to get a bunch of code here. Let's see. So our model, we're going to add public function line. Oh, we don't have any line items. Oh yeah, we do because they're in the database. But we don't have the models for them. Never mind. We should have kept Kelly's code too. And pulled that in. But so we could do more things with this if we had more stuff set up. Once Kelly's information is added, we'll be able to do more with this stuff. But this is the budget item that's in the database. Again, we could do, you know, 2 different 1, 3, you know, things like that. Now, again, with this, we would, you know, if this were a bigger application, our route would probably be something more like this would probably be wrapped in a /budget or budgets route path. But again, this is budgets are our main thing, our base thing. So we're just gonna leave it like this, and that's perfectly fine. But here is, let me go ahead and remove this. Return view, blah blah blah. Oop. Just so we only have what O'Neill put in. All right, so here is our basic layout of the Figma, and that looks good. We're gonna obviously be adding more things to this, such as the actual line items themselves, organized by categories, things like that. So this is correct from what I can tell, and we're able to actually go to a details page now. I don't remember if that was added to the actual ticket. Paper, header, budget, added category button, other components added on tickets. So no, I did not tell you to add an actual page, a view for it. So there you go. I'll try to make sure I do that moving forward. But that does match the design, I believe, right here. Oh, that's the wrong one. Here we go. All right, so that is matching the initial design. Then we'll have the category ones here in the future as well. So good job, O'Neill. That all looks good, and it did not require the page based on the ticket, but I'm going to go ahead and add that in here, since that makes it a little bit easier to actually test out the components. Typically, if you're adding components and they go on a new page, I would request that you add a new component, add a view for that. Generally, we would use index for a listing page. We would use detail or details sometimes for a detail page. And one of the things I'm trying to do in the actual design is list that out. So budget details page versus budget list page. So you kind of know what those things are, what they should be. Obviously, we're going to have categories will be another section. Maybe we'll tackle that next before we get too deep into the budgets themselves. Tackle some category crud in future tickets here. But I'll go ahead and push up this detail blade and the updated route for the web route, so that we can see that and use that and see the updates to that component moving forward. So let me come back over here, and I just want the routes budget details page. What did I do there? Budget controller. Oh, it's just styling changes. Yep, okay. Nothing major. So we'll do all those. So get add all, get commit. Added view for viewing. Updated component. Get push. And we will actually go ahead and approve this one. So good job, O'Neill. Keep cranking them out, people. Refresh. Got a few updates. It got a little bit bigger there. Just from some other things. What's going on? Oh, shoot. I didn't want to do that. Oh, well. It's all right. Budget controller, budget. Yeah, we'll just update those. So that'll be a nice merge conflict for Kelly. Since I put those in there. My bad. See, this is why you have to be careful when you do get add dot all get add dot because sometimes you don't want to add everything, and I forgot I was not going to add some things there, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world. All right, so we're going to go up here and review these and approve. Good job. And submit. All right. Well, that took longer than I was expecting, mostly because um, I get down the rabbit hole sometimes. So I apologize for that. I know you guys probably don't care so much, uh, but it annoys me when I can't figure things out right away. Exactly. I just got caught into the flow, and I had to do stuff. That is something about being a developer, even when you don't do it every day. Like I don't. My job is much more management now than anything. But once you start getting into it, like the passion and the zeal comes back for developing and writing code and things like that. So it's kind of it's a weird thing. You have to be a weird person like me, I guess, to do that or to appreciate it. So you're weird. That's true. Yeah, especially if you spend a bunch of time, wasted time on something. You got to learn when to cut your losses. That's why, after a few minutes on the test thing, I need to figure out what that issue is. It's obviously a local issue. If they ran fine um, for Kelly, so obviously it's an issue on my end that I need to figure out, or it could be because of some of the changes that I made. Um, but it sounds like it's something on my environment since it's not connecting to the database. So that's really important to keep track of what you're doing and how long it's taking you and when you should ask for help. Um, as you can see, I ask for help very quickly when it comes to Google. Um, but yeah, there you go. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think you have to enjoy what you're doing, um, to some degree. Now, there are some aspects of code that you're probably not going to enjoy. But if you enjoy the process as a whole, I think you can look past the things that you don't enjoy, and find joy and fulfillment in doing the rest of it. So, Dimitri, do you know anything about sponsoring open source developers on GitHub? I mean, some kind of distributing of donations among many projects. I don't, to be honest with you. I use a lot of dependencies. I can donate uh, monthly. How can I distribute that amongst those who have sponsoring enabled? I don't know of a way to do that because I'll just be honest with you, I never have sponsored any open source projects. Um, so I don't know. I apologize, Dimitri. I mean, I would. What you're looking to do is basically give a certain amount and just distribute it evenly amongst other, or even unevenly amongst other devs. My guess is you probably just have to set each of them up manually. But I don't know. Yeah, maybe that's what we should do. Maybe that's what I'll build in 2025, or you can build it. How's that? Yeah, there you go, Ming. I don't like the back end, but it's part of the job. It is, and honestly, in many instances, it really is what drives the application. The front end is what the user sees and interacts with, but the back end is what actually drives it and makes it successful, makes it work. Um, we have some very big projects at work, and I was just talking about this with one of my devs the other day that you know it'd be nice to get some more devs on a project, but then figuring out where to put them. To me, it feels like the back end probably needs the most help because the front end, lots of people can do front end, but not everybody can do back end. Because not everybody just has the mental weirdness to do back end to think in terms of data and how it's structured and stuff like that. So, um, but it is the engine that drives the application at the end of the day. So that's the thing that you have to remember, even though you may not like it. And there are jobs that you can get that are all front end development. You don't have to do back end development necessarily. Just like there's back end jobs that don't require front end development. So there are opportunities on both ends, but I think if you can do both, if you can force yourself to do the parts you don't like, you'll be more valuable in the long run, I think. Uh, yeah, and that's true. I would prefer to use a template. I like using component libraries, anything that makes it easier, so I don't have to think as much about the UI. That's why we're using this component library for this project, right? So, because that way I don't have to think about the design as much. I don't have to think about the layout as much. We just use components that are available and build something. So yeah, that's I definitely have a back end dev mindset. I'll agree with that. Let's see. Kelly, if you're still on, I was talking more about how you do, like how you are hosting your application locally. Are you just doing it with PHP? Are you just doing it with like Herd or like Xampp or something like that? Because I right now with this project I'm using Sail, but I'm gonna migrate it to Herd, just because it'll be better. I think probably for running tests as well. Yeah, building apps for your family definitely probably takes precedence. So maybe I'll pick it up, Dimitri. How's that? Maybe I'll pick it up in 2025 and see what we can do to create something to help you out. The big thing is, so I assume you're using. Well, let's take a look. So Dimitri, give me a link to one that you would sponsor. Um, Let me send me a link to one because I want to look at it, kind of see how it works. Because again, I've never done it. Let the feature creep list of 2025 begin. Exactly. That's exactly what's going to happen. Welcome to real. Welcome to real development. Let's see. Don't like backend. Blah blah blah. Mel, Mel says, "What is it like working with people who can do things like UI and design? What kind of info do they need?" So typically, what we'll do is we'll have some sort of. So, for example, the company that I work for, we have a couple of designers, and they will use different tools. Figma is a popular one, and they will give us layouts. Sometimes they'll give us sometimes we'll decide on a component library just to make it easier even for the front end devs. Um, the company I work for, most people have a decent proficiency in both front end and back end development, but uh, but we definitely have. I mean, different people have different strengths and likes and dislikes and things like that. So um, we'll typically have some sort of design like this. So I'm actually getting ready to start a project on Monday, a new project at work, and one of the first steps that I'm going to go through is figuring out, okay, what is the scope of the project, right? What is minimum viable project? And there's actually multiple pieces to it. So what is this piece's goal? What's its purpose? And then I'll get with the designer. We'll figure out what that looks like visually, and the client will start approving those designs, and then we'll start building out the application. Part of this is actually going to be a mobile app as well. So we're going to start building out the application based off of the data layout, the data schema, based on what we know needs to happen, based on things that we know need to happen in the future. And so we'll build out those things first, right? And we have an iterative process to where we'll do design along the way as we go, but we try to keep design ahead of development so that developers can always just kind of constantly grab the next thing, but they also see what it's supposed to look like. They get an idea of how it's supposed to interact. Um, One of the things that I try to do with my teams is actually talk through the functionality. Like, what's our goal with this? What are we trying to accomplish? Because even though I might be the main person laying out the project and laying out the steps to go from zero to hero, it's it just popped in my head. Even though that might be mostly my job, other people, the devs themselves specifically, probably have other ideas that would help and that may be even better than mine. So I try to make it collaborative to where I give them the goal and the end point, and we work together to find the best solutions to do that within the time frame that we have. Using frameworks like Laravel or like some of these UI frameworks help us do that more efficiently. So it's not just that we're being lazy; it's that it's helping us focus on the core difficult things, and still being able to put out a nice looking project within a reasonable time frame. So it's not necessarily just a cheat. It's there to help us be more efficient and provide more value really to the client at the end of the day. So, but it is cool working with people that can do stuff that you can't do, especially when you're working on a team and everybody has a team mindset. Like it's very cool because you get to see projects come alive and just look cool in things that you might not be able to do on your own. So let's see. My parents don't approve of my dev journey as I've been pursuing for a long time, but no progression in terms of job offers. They don't understand what I'm going through. Any thoughts? Um, I mean, I know this is hard, especially based on culture, because like your culture, even subcultures within an overarching culture uh, can carry with them some ramifications of decisions and life choices and how family members interact with that. So I want to start by just recognizing that those are realities and recognizing that just because I may tell you to what I think about something or my opinion or what my suggestion, I understand that that may not go over well within certain contexts. So um, I know that in a lot of families there is a dynamic where that matters. Um, my initial response is that it shouldn't matter. My initial response is, well, I mean, they need to butt out and let you pursue what you think you can pursue. Now, there may be other dynamics that I'm not aware of. Maybe they're supporting you. Well, in that case, if they're supporting you financially in some way, I think that there should be some interaction there and some weight to what they have to say. Um, I've got an 18-year-old son now who's in college, trying to figure out where his path is going to go, um, and he lives at home. He lives at home. He eats my food, sleeps in my house. And so there is a level then of not just responsibility that I have, but a level of like you kind of owe me a little bit, not just for life, but you owe me because I'm providing for your life. Now he has a job. He's definitely not a bum. All right, so I'm not saying any of this to discourage my son or tell you that he's a bad kid or anything. Um, I'm just saying I recognize that there are different dynamics in different relationships. So just because I may have the opinion that they shouldn't care, um, I realize that there are other dynamics with that may give them a reason to care outside of just being your parents and wanting the best for you, right? Um, People generally are not supportive of things they don't understand, though. So I think that's very important to recognize and remember, and especially things that are technical in nature that they don't understand. It's easy for people to say, why are you wasting your time on that, when they don't understand the process, they don't understand the journey, they don't understand the difficulties involved, they don't understand the joy that you have in doing it. For example, you just mentioned earlier that you really like writing code. Like, most people don't understand why we would enjoy sitting in front of a computer typing weird stuff on it and building web applications. Like, that's not a normal thing for most people. And so it is going to be something that they're not going to understand, and we need to recognize that and embrace that. And what I would suggest is, as much as possible, give them um, something to be encouraged about. Um, don't ruin your relationship with your parents just because they don't understand, but also don't give up on your journey just because they don't understand. Um, Now that may mean, for example, let's say you're living at home. I saw some other things come up here. I mean, they just say go look for a job and something else. Yeah. So I mean, if it's not an issue of the relationship, necessarily, it's just they're they're thinking that it's not going to happen. Like, that's one thing. That's a different thing. Um, I wouldn't say ignore them, but I would say keep pursuing what you want to do as long as you can. Um, Now, if it becomes an issue as far as financially or dependence on them or things like that, that's different. And as a parent, I would side with them a little bit more in those issues. But I think you have to realize that most people are not going to understand the difficulties or the process of getting into this world. Or really, I mean, they may understand to some degree the value of it if you can get in, but they don't understand until they do it. They don't understand, like we do. So I would say, I would encourage you to keep going until it becomes a burden that is impacting them in some way. That might be an option, a time where you would reevaluate whether or not you should keep continuing down this path. That would be the main thing I think I would say. Uh, yeah, I think for some reason there might be some setting that doesn't let you send links to me. Uh, Let me see if I can just search. Search all of GitHub. Yes, please. Sponsor open source projects you depend on. Ha ha. Here we go. Explore sponsorable projects. Um, let's see. None of your dependencies can be sponsored. That's fine. Okay, so if I go here, I'll just grab this first one. I don't know anything about this. Security research program focuses on developing bulk sponsor. Is that what you're looking for? Get started. One time, monthly, choose. Download example CSV, choose file, explore sponsors, sponsorship amount. There you go. I think that's what you're looking for, Dimitri. Bulk sponsorships. Looks like you put in the username and the amount monthly, and you can determine that. So there goes that project idea. You gotta assume that GitHub was smart enough to do something like that. That's a little bulky. I wish it wasn't that bulky, but it is bulk sponsorships. So yeah, there you go. GitHub sponsors bulk sponsorships. I think that's what you're looking for, Dimitri. They heard your complaining, and they developed it. So there you go. It looks like the only options are one time and monthly though. Um, which, whatever. It is what it is. Yeah, that's difficult. Me, especially when you're dealing with comparisons. I mean, send him my video about what I forget what it was, like 16 years as a junior or something like that. Let's see if I can find it. Da-ba-ba. 9 years. No, that's isolation. Where's my junior one? Seriously? There it is. 16. Yeah, 16 years of junior. Send them this one. This one right here. Um, oh, that's the shorter version. It's still an hour long though. So this is basically my journey. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Um, Before I got a pay raise, basically, um, this is my journey of getting started in development and doing it even professionally. Even once I got a job, really still being a junior for many, many years. And it's because I didn't understand how it worked. I didn't really even know where I was in the process. And so, because I didn't know where I was in the process, I couldn't explain to other people where I was in the process, where I was um, from like a mid to senior to lead developer level. I would say when I got my first real job in programming, I was probably a mid level developer. Um, but I didn't know that. I didn't know where I stacked up. So that's something that you have to take into account when you're looking at where you're at in your journey and the success of other people. Everyone's journey is different. Everyone gets different opportunities, and depending on your opportunities, you may move up the ladder, so to speak, faster than other people do, simply because you fell into the right opportunity that lets you look successful. I'll put it that way, right? So that doesn't necessarily mean that somebody that has that level of success even knows more than you do. It just means that they got into a specific job or career path that allowed them to move more quickly than you've been able to find. Um, so I would, feel free to watch that and grab some notes if you want. But to me, that's the issue. It's not so much that you're bad at what you do or that you can't do it. It's just different people have different opportunities, and it sounds to me, based on the conversations that we've had, that you are taking advantage of every opportunity that you have to try to get into the job market. So yeah, I mean, you could get a CS degree. I've just never found, I have, there's only two people in my life as a developer that had CS degrees that I felt it actually helped them be a better dev. Um, I've worked with a lot of other people that had CS degrees too, and in my opinion, they weren't any better devs than the people that just came in through other means, self-taught or boot camps or things like that. So, um, development is really, it's an individual sport, right? Development is something that you learn and you grow on your own. Even with a CS degree, you're going to have knowledge of other things that might be helpful, and that will definitely make you sound smart, but that doesn't mean you're a better developer. Um, you're just getting ahead a few months, really, in my opinion. So I wouldn't necessarily waste your money on a CS degree unless you just really want some of that specific training, um, or or unless that's really something that's necessary for getting a job where you are. So that would be the only other reason that I would encourage somebody to do a more standard CS degree. If most of the jobs in your country or even in your city area require a CS degree, that would be a reason to do it. That's a good point, Mel. If they're passing you along, they might just want you to succeed, but they don't know how to encourage you. Sometimes when people don't know how to encourage you, they encourage you with negativity. Um, they'll basically tell you can't do something to try to motivate you to do it better. Um, Maybe that's part of what they're doing. I don't know. You never know. Um, but I definitely understand, the frustration there, and I would just say keep going if it's something that you're still passionate about. Um, And if you're losing the passion, then maybe reevaluate. But if you're still passionate about it, like you said earlier, you really love writing code, like I would keep going, because if you stop, you're certainly not going to have any opportunities. But if you keep going, you probably will. So yeah, that's the thing. It's a degree is not going to teach you how to do the job. Doing the job is going to teach you how to do the job. So there you go. All right. We spent a lot of time playing with code today, so if you wanted more information or questions, I apologize. I'm gonna have to jump off here and go do my lumberjack duties. So hopefully you guys had an enjoyable time watching me struggle, and hopefully others will watch it later too, even though it's almost 2 hours long. So thank you for jumping on. Thanks for being here with me today. Maybe I'll get a picture of the log. I don't know. I get my battery powered chainsaw out and all that fun stuff. Yeah. So we'll see what that ends up looking like. Hopefully it'll be pretty quick here. But thanks for jumping on today, guys. Again, I will hopefully see you all Tuesday if you're able to join me for the LinkedIn Lunch live stream. And if not, watch it later, and we'll have some things hopefully that they'll be able to discuss. And thanks for jumping in here. Thanks for sorry, Ann. Welcome. You got in on the tail end. Usually from 10 a.m. to noon East Central 10 a.m. to noon Central United States time is when we run on Saturdays. So sorry about that, but welcome. Good to see you. So anyway, thanks for hanging out, guys. I will see you all again Tuesday, hopefully Thursday, and then Saturday. So jump on, join me. Yep, we'll be here Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. Central U.S. time for the LinkedIn Lunch live stream for an hour, and then 2 hours on Saturday, 10 a.m. to noon on Central United States Central time. So I'll see you guys. Thanks for jumping in with me today, and have a great weekend.